2 months ago, I learned the muscle up, but I did it with some kipping. Since then, I've been trying to take that kipping away, but I realized it's kind of a long process. A month ago, I started researching the ring muscle up, which, according to people on the internet, is a really good progression towards the strict muscle up. So, I bought a pair of rings, and again, I want to do it for 3 reps in a row. The first day, just getting onto the rings and doing a dip was like super challenging because these things are just constantly shaking. Another big difference is that because we want to do it slowly and there's no momentum to help us rotate our hands during the transition, we have to hold a false grip. But the first day I tried it, the false grip was quite painful. I couldn't hold it for anything longer than 3 seconds, and pull up was like a torture for me. So I started to spend like 10 to 20 minutes each day just to get used to the ring. I was practicing hanging with the false grip with all kinds of assistance, and I'd also tried doing some wrist mobility stretches and farmer's walk with overhand grip just to improve my grip strength. At the meantime, I was getting more comfortable doing dips on the rings. And on day 14, I finally managed to do 3 pull-ups in a row with the false grip. I know the form wasn't perfect, but it was quite some decent progress. And here I just want to zoom out a little bit to talk about a false grip. So most people on the internet just say, hey, you just need to grab it this way with your palm facing downwards. But I found that there are quite a lot of subtleties in terms of, how you position your palm relative to the ring, and then they all kind of feel differently. So for me, the one that works the best is that you just first identify your wrist bone, which is like this bone right here. And then you have your ring. You place your wrist bone on the ring like this, and then you grab the ring. And that's how I do my false grip. I found this way to be the most stable because you can like kind of pinch your ring with the forearm and the wrist bone like in this angle right here. And now let's zoom back to my progress. So as I realized that I could do 3 pull-ups in a row, I started working on the transition with my feet on the ground just to get a sense of how it feels like to do the ring muscle up. The next day I was watching my recordings at home. I found 2 things. One, I should really try to keep those elbows close to my body while doing the transition. And number 2, which is way more important, is that my pull-up actually looked high enough, so I should actually start attempting the real muscle up. And on day 17, I went back to the gym and I attempted the actual ring muscle up. This is my first attempt. And you can see in my facial expression that it was quite a magical feeling, like the transition seemed to be kind of working. Then I tried it one more time, and I think I was even closer this time. And at the third try, this happened. This was quite some celebration, but yeah, I was super excited. This is the first ring muscle up of my life. While I was super excited to make more progress the next few days, I discovered 2 problems. One is that I don't always have it. Someday I could do it, someday I just couldn't do the transition at all. And second is that I just don't know how to come down without losing the false grip. Because the rings were constantly shaking and there was like a huge amount of acceleration on my way down, every time I just couldn't help but drop my feet on the floor first. I went back home and I did more research on YouTube, and I found one video which is probably the only video that talks about how to transition down for the ring muscle up. Basically, this guy illustrates that you really need to exaggerate your overgrip as you go down. It's a really subtle movement, but I thought it makes sense and it's worth giving a try. And I also tried to figure out why someday I just couldn't do it at all. So I went back and I watched my first successful attempt. And I noticed that after I did it, I was rubbing my traps and there seemed to be a lot of tension there. Seems like I was unconsciously engaging my traps. The more I thought about this, the more it makes sense to me because I've been mostly trying to do the transition by rolling forward like this. Now if you look closely, here my hands traveled in a curved line, which requires a lot of strength to pull even lower to roll into the pushing position. And that's why it's really hard. But if I do it with some trap engagement like this, well, here I'm exaggerating a bit, but you can see how my hands move in a much flatter line, which requires a lot less pulling force. And I think that's why some days I just couldn't do it because I wasn't consciously trying to engage the traps. So on day 29, I focused on exaggerating the overgrip while coming down and engaging my traps. And here comes the magic moment. And that's how I learned the ring muscle up in 29 days. Thanks so much for watching. My next goal is to do the slow muscle up on the bars. Please stay tuned and I'll see you on the next video.